You already know what it feels like to become exactly what someone expected you to be. They said it enough times that you stopped arguing. Your teacher said it. Your parents said it. The kids at school said it. And somewhere along the way, you just thought, fine, if that's what I am, then I'll be the best version of that thing you've ever seen. That is not a cartoon villain origin story. But before we dive into Megamind and why his story matters, subscribe to the channel right now and join the Patreon to help support me. We all remember Megamind as a hilarious Will Ferrell comedy that grossed over $321 million at the worldwide box office. Megamind is a movie about the exact moment a child's identity gets permanently decided by everyone around them, before they ever get a chance to figure it out themselves. The true villain in this story isn't the guy in the white cape. It's the invisible cage of the identity you never chose. To understand what is actually happening to Megamind, we have to look at who he was before the label ever stuck. Both Megamind and Metroman are extraterrestrials sent to Earth as infants. Their environments immediately decide their destinies. Metroman lands in a wealthy, privileged mansion and is instantly celebrated. Megamind crashes into the Metro City prison for the criminally gifted and is raised by inmates. Despite that, Megamind arrives at school wanting exactly what Metroman wants: belonging, connection, recognition. During the famous school scene, the class sings "The Itsy Bitsy Spider." That is a deliberate narrative choice. The spider is a creature that is generally unliked, fails repeatedly, but keeps trying anyway. That is exactly what Megamind is doing. He tries to fit in. His physical differences and complete lack of social support make him an immediate outcast. He watches Metroman receive endless praise for simply existing, while his own attempts to be good lead to fear, rejection, and punishment. And this is where Megamind reaches his breaking point. Society has already built a box for him. No amount of effort will ever let him step outside of it. So he delivers one of the most tragic lines in animated history.
If I was the bad boy, then I was going to be the baddest boy of them all.
He leans into the label. He accepts the destiny society assigned him. We usually look at this as a classic comic book origin story. Megamind's villainy is not an inherent personality trait. It is a coping mechanism, the only one available to a child who has been told what he is so many times that fighting it stopped making sense. When a child is repeatedly labeled the difficult one, the troubled one, the bad kid, their brain fundamentally changes how it builds a sense of self. In 1902, sociologist Charles Cooley coined the concept of the looking glass self. He proposed that our entire self-concept is formed based on how we perceive that other people see us. Children are highly sensitive to feedback from adults and peers. They internalize these external perceptions as absolute facts about who they are. In 1963, sociologist Howard Becker formalized labeling theory. Becker's research proved that when society responds to a child's behavior by applying a negative label, the child eventually stops fighting the assignment and starts building a life inside it. They adopt the label as their core identity. It is the only script the world ever handed them. This is not just sociological theory, it is measurable neurobiology. According to UCLA neuroscientist Matt Lieberman, in 2018, the brain processes identity in two distinct regions of the prefrontal cortex. The medial prefrontal cortex handles internal reflection. The dorsal medial prefrontal cortex is strictly active when processing our position in a social group. During childhood, the brain undergoes a massive social restructuring. It becomes hypersensitive to peer validation and societal norms. When Megamind is repeatedly alienated by his teacher and peers, his brain processes that rejection as a literal survival threat. According to sociometer theory, proposed by Mark Leary in 2012, self-esteem functions as an internal psychological monitor for social acceptance. When a child perceives themselves as devalued by their environment, their self-esteem collapses. They desperately seek any role that will grant them attention. Megamind didn't choose to be evil. He chose to be seen. Performing the role of the villain was the only possible way to interact with the world and receive any feedback at all. And this triggers one of the most powerful psychological forces in human development. In 1965, researchers Robert Rosenthal and Lenore Jacobson conducted a landmark experiment at a California elementary school. They administered a fictitious exam called the Harvard Test of Inflected Acquisition. They told the teachers this test had identified specific students as academic bloomers, poised for massive intellectual growth. Those students were selected completely at random. At the end of the study, the first graders randomly labeled as bloomers gained an average of over 27 IQ points. The control group only gained 12. The students literally became smarter simply because the adults in the room expected them to be. This is the Pygmalion Effect, a self-fulfilling prophecy where higher expectations lead to a measurable increase in performance. The Pygmalion Effect has a dark side. When adults label a child as a troublemaker, they lower their expectations, reduce their empathy, and focus exclusively on the child's deficits. A 2023 meta-ethnographic synthesis of studies across Estonia, Portugal, and the UK found that labels like risky or delinquent significantly and permanently impact a young person's self-concept. The child internalizes the stigma. They assume their core identity is a flaw. They live down to the exact expectations set by the adults around them. Megamind is the ultimate victim of a negative self-fulfilling prophecy. Society labeled his intelligence and creativity as dangerous, so he weaponized them just to survive. Performing an identity you never actually chose comes with a cost that never stops collecting. In the 1960s, developmental psychologist James Marcia formalized a concept called identity foreclosure. Identity foreclosure occurs when an individual commits to an identity without ever undergoing a period of active exploration. They adopt the identity imposed on them by authority figures or cultural traditions. On the surface, this looks like stability. Foreclosed individuals often report high self-esteem. They have a clear purpose. They fit perfectly into the role society built for them. Megamind is extraordinarily good at being the villain. The presentation, the gadgets, the dramatic entrances, the perfectly curated evil laugh. There is not a single moment in the first half of this film where any of it brings him genuine fulfillment. He is suffering from identity exhaustion. Identity exhaustion is a state of deep emotional depletion caused by the long-term sustained effort of maintaining a performed version of yourself. The cognitive load of monitoring every single thing you say and do, so the performance never slips. Megamind's entire existence is a front stage performance. He even tells Titan that the difference between a villain and a supervillain is presentation. When you spend your entire life managing your front stage persona to avoid social stigma, you eventually lose contact with who you actually are underneath it. You believe you are only acknowledged for the performance, and this leads to the inciting incident of the entire movie. Megamind defeats Metro Man. He takes over the city. He gets everything he ever claimed to want. He immediately spirals into a profound existential crisis. His entire purpose disappears with his nemesis. His identity was never built on his own internal values. It was built entirely on his opposition to someone else.
Why do I feel so melancholy?
And this is where the dark mirror of the story appears. Megamind is not the only person in Metrocity suffocating inside an assigned identity. Metro Man is trapped in the exact same cage. He was conditioned from infancy to be the perfect hero. The gold stars, the adoration, the massive bronze statues. His arc reveals he felt completely trapped the entire time. He fakes his own death just so he can sit in an apartment and play music. Both of them are victims of the same societal labeling. One assigned the hero, one assigned the villain. Neither of them ever got to choose. Metro Man finds freedom by abandoning his role entirely. Megamind has to find his by actively dismantling his. When Megamind creates the holographic disguise of Bernard the museum curator, he is not just tricking Roxanne Ritchie. He is engaging in what existential psychology calls a voluntary identity collapse. The Bernard persona is a psychological escape hatch. For the first time in his life, he is interacting with someone without performing. Roxanne's acceptance of him challenges the deepest belief he has ever held about himself, that he is inherently unlovable, that he is fundamentally broken. Then the disguise malfunctions. The illusion drops in the pouring rain. Roxanne looks at him with horror and walks away. Megamind doesn't chase her. He doesn't use his gadgets. He stands in the rain completely shattered and returns to his prison. This is not a sad breakup scene in a cartoon. Megamind is experiencing what psychologists call the dreaded self. He tried to step out of the cage. The world punished him for it immediately, so he retreats. The pain of being the bad guy is familiar. The pain of being rejected as his real self is something he has no defenses against. He creates Titan to restore the old dynamic. Titan is the consequence of what happens when entitlement replaces identity. He believes he is owed affection and power simply for existing. When he gets superpowers, he doesn't become a hero, he becomes a monster. Power doesn't change who you are, it amplifies the identity you've already built.
Titan has freed us!
Oh, I wouldn't say free. More like under new management.
Megamind is forced to realize something that takes most people a lifetime to see. The hero and villain labels are completely arbitrary. They are social constructs. They are not biological destinies. Rebuilding an identity in adulthood is an act of deconstruction. It requires shifting from an external locus of control, where you believe your life is dictated by what other people decided you were, to an internal locus of control, where you decide for yourself. Existential psychology says authenticity is only achieved when a person recognizes that their current way of being is incongruent with their internal truth and makes the terrifying choice to realign. When Megamind steps up to fight Titan, he is not fulfilling a destiny. He is making a conscious choice to protect the people he cares about. He stops performing. He starts living.
There's a benefit to losing. You get to learn from your mistakes.
Research indicates that individuals with a well-defined, authentic sense of identity report up to 40% greater life satisfaction compared to those trapped in identity foreclosure. When you stop spending every ounce of your energy managing the performance, you have the bandwidth to build something real. Megamind's redemption works because he does not have to die to be forgiven. He is allowed to live, to change, and to repair the damage. His actions define him, not the label. Here is what the happy ending does not mean though. It does not mean the years spent inside the cage did not hurt. It does not mean the labels placed on you by your parents, your teachers, or your peers did not alter the trajectory of your life. They did. Some people never take the costume off. They have worn it so long, they genuinely cannot remember what they look like before they put it on. They keep playing the troublemaker, the scapegoat, the overachiever, because it is the only way they know how to stay safe in the world. They let the world decide who they are and spend their entire lives defending a cage they never asked to be put in. Your identity is not a fixed brand you have to maintain until you die. The tragedy is not that you were assigned a role you never wanted. The tragedy is realizing you had the power to step off the stage the entire time. You stayed because you were terrified of the empty theater. The question this movie leaves you with is not who you were told to be. It is whether you have ever actually allowed yourself to find out who you are.